It was almost midnight. I dropped my drunk friend home. Then her mother said, "Would you like to stay over?" I thought it was just hospitality, until everything changed. It was almost midnight when she finally leaned her head against the car window, her breathing slow and uneven. The streetlights passed over her face in soft flashes, showing traces of mascara smudged under her eyes and a tired smile that came and went like a fading memory. She was drunk, not dangerously, but enough that her words had started melting together an hour ago. I kept both hands on the steering wheel, driving slower than usual. The city felt different at night. Quiet, honest, like it was hiding secrets it didn't want to explain. "Thanks for coming to get me," she mumbled, barely opening her eyes. "You would have done the same for me," I replied, though I wasn't sure if she even heard it. We'd been friends for years. Close friends. The kind who shared late-night talks, inside jokes, and emotional confessions that never crossed certain lines. Or maybe we were just pretending those lines didn't blur sometimes. When I turned into her street, she suddenly straightened up. "Wait, slow down. That's my house." I parked in front of a modest two-story home. Lights were still on inside, warm yellow glowing behind thin curtains. I glanced at her. "Your mom's awake," I said. She groaned. "Great. She's going to kill me." I got out first and walked around to her side, opening the door. She tried to step out but stumbled, grabbing my arm instinctively. Her grip tightened, fingers digging into my sleeve like she was afraid the ground would disappear beneath her. "I've got you," I said quickly. She laughed softly. "You always do." That sentence stayed with me longer than it should have. I guided her to the front door. Before she could even knock, it opened. Her mother stood there, already dressed in a simple nightgown, hair neatly tied back. She didn't look angry. She looked observant. Her eyes moved from her daughter's unsteady posture to my arm around her waist, then to my face. "Oh," she said calmly. "You must be the one who brought her home." "Yes, ma'am," I replied, immediately straightening up. She had a bit too much to drink. Her mother sighed, not in frustration, but relief. "Thank you for taking care of her." She pulled her daughter inside, guiding her gently. "Go upstairs and wash your face. We'll talk in the morning." As her daughter disappeared up the stairs, her mother turned back to me. "You must be tired," she said. "It's late." "It's no problem," I replied. I was just about to head out. She hesitated. Just for a second. Then she smiled, soft, polite, but unreadable. "Would you like to stay over?" The question landed heavier than I expected. What? I blinked. "It's very late," she continued. "And you drove her all the way here. You shouldn't drive back so tired." "That's okay," I said quickly. "I live nearby." She studied my face, like she was searching for something behind my eyes. "Still," she said gently, "you're welcome to stay. We have a guest room." Something about the way she said it made the air feel thicker. I glanced toward the stairs, then back at her. "I don't want to impose." "You're not," she replied without hesitation. "You did us a favor." There was a pause. The kind where your instincts argue with your logic. "All right," I finally said. "If you're sure." Her smile widened slightly. "I am." She showed me to a small but comfortable guest room. Clean sheets. A neatly folded blanket. The smell of lavender lingering in the air. "Bathrooms down the hall," she said. "If you need anything, just let me know." "Thank you," I replied. As she turned to leave, she stopped at the door. "You know," she said softly, "she talks about you a lot." My heart skipped. She does. Her mother smiled, then left without saying anything else. I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. My mind replayed the night over and over, her grip on my arm, that sentence she'd said in the car, the way her mother looked at me like she already knew something I didn't. Somewhere in the house, a door creaked. Footsteps moved quietly down the hallway. Then, a knock. Soft. Careful. I sat up. "Yes," I called. The door opened slowly. And everything changed. The door opened just enough for her face to appear in the dim hallway light. Her hair was loose now, falling over her shoulders, her makeup washed away. She looked sober, or at least more aware than she had earlier. "I couldn't sleep," she whispered. I hesitated. Every instinct told me this moment mattered. One wrong word, one wrong move, and everything could fall apart. "Are you okay?" I asked. She nodded, stepping inside and closing the door behind her quietly. "My head hurts," she said. "And my thoughts won't stop." She sat on the edge of the bed, keeping a careful distance between us. I stayed where I was, leaning against the other side like an invisible line separated us. "You didn't have to come in," I said gently. "I know," she replied. "But I wanted to thank you, properly." I smiled. "You already did." She shook her head. "No. I mean, really thank you. You didn't judge me. You didn't leave me there. You didn't make me feel stupid." Her voice cracked on the last word. "I've seen you at your best and your worst," I said. "That's what friends do." She looked up at me then, her eyes glossy, not from alcohol, but from something deeper. "Is that all we are?" The question hung between us, heavy and dangerous. I took a breath. "We've never really talked about that." She laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. Because we were both scared of the answer. Silence filled the room again. I could hear the faint ticking of a clock somewhere in the house, each second louder than the last. "My mom invited you to stay," she said suddenly. "Yes," I replied. "I hope that's okay." She smiled faintly. "She likes you." That didn't surprise me as much as it should have. "She trusts you," she added. "She doesn't trust many people around me." I didn't know what to say to that. She stood up slowly and walked toward the window, staring out into the dark street. "Do you know why I drank tonight?" she asked. "You don't have to explain," I said. "I want to," she replied. "Because I'm tired of pretending everything is fine." She turned back to me. "I'm tired of being strong all the time. Tired of making the right choices. Tired of loving people who don't see me." My chest tightened. "You see me," she continued softly. "Even when I don't want to be seen." I stood up, closing some of the distance between us but stopping short. "I see you," I said honestly. "But I don't want to cross a line that could hurt you." She stepped closer. Close enough that I could smell her shampoo. Close enough that my heart started racing. "What if the line is already crossed?" she whispered. Before I could respond, there was a light knock on the door. We froze. Her mother's voice came through, calm and composed. "Everything all right in there?" She glanced at me, panic flashing across her face. "Yes, Mom," she replied quickly. "I just needed some water." There was a pause. Then footsteps moving away. She exhaled shakily. "See, even now, I feel like I'm doing something wrong." "You're not," I said. "But we need to be careful." She nodded, tears forming in her eyes. "That's why this hurts." She reached out, her fingers brushing mine, just barely. Electricity shot through me, sharp and undeniable. "I don't want to lose you," she said. "You won't," I replied. "No matter what." She looked at me for a long moment, then stepped back. "I should go," she said quietly. "Before I make things more complicated." At the door, she turned one last time. "But just so you know," she said, "tonight wasn't a mistake." Then she left. I didn't sleep at all after that. Morning came too fast. Sunlight filled the room, washing away the tension of the night but leaving behind something heavier, unfinished. At breakfast, her mother sat across from me, sipping tea. "You look tired," she said. "Long night," I replied. She smiled knowingly. "Some nights are meant to change things." Before I could respond, her daughter entered the room, looking different now. Calmer. Guarded. Our eyes met for just a second. And in that second, I knew. Nothing would ever be simple again. Breakfast ended quietly. Too quietly. The kind of silence where every movement feels louder than it should. The clink of a spoon, the chair sliding back, the ticking clock on the wall, It all felt like it was counting down to something unavoidable. She barely looked at me. Not because she didn't want to, but because looking would reveal too much. Her mother noticed everything. After breakfast, her daughter excused herself, saying she had a headache and needed rest. She disappeared upstairs without another word. I stood there awkwardly, ready to thank her mother again and leave. But before I could speak, her mother said, "Walk with me." It wasn't a request. She led me into the living room and gestured for me to sit. Sunlight poured in through the window, making everything feel too exposed for the conversation I sensed coming. "You care about her," she said calmly. I didn't deny it. "Yes." She nodded. "I could tell last night. Not from what you did, but from what you didn't do." That caught me off guard. "You respected her," she continued. "Even when she was vulnerable. Even when emotions were high." I swallowed. "She's important to me." Her mother folded her hands in her lap. "Then you should know something." My chest tightened. "She's leaving," she said. "In 2 weeks." "What?" The word slipped out before I could stop it. "She's been accepted into a program abroad," her mother explained. "She hasn't told many people yet." The room felt smaller suddenly. "She didn't tell me. She was afraid," her mother said gently. "Afraid of goodbyes. Afraid of unfinished feelings." I leaned back, trying to process it. All those late nights. All those moments that almost became something more. And now, time was already running out. Her mother looked at me carefully. "I invited you to stay last night because I wanted to see who you really were." I met her gaze. And now I know," she said. "You're not a boy who takes advantage of moments. You're a man who understands consequences." I didn't know whether to feel relieved or terrified. "She needs that," her mother added. "Especially now." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked quietly. "Because," she said, standing up, "some connections don't come twice in a lifetime. And some goodbyes hurt more when they're silent." She left me alone with that truth. I found her later that afternoon in her room. She was sitting by the window, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the sky like it might give her answers. "You're leaving," I said softly. She flinched, then closed her eyes. "Mom told you?" "Yes." She nodded. "I wanted to. I just didn't know how." I sat beside her, close but not touching. "When were you going to tell me?" She let out a shaky laugh. "I wasn't sure I would." "That hurts," I admitted. "I know," she said quickly, tears forming. "But staying hurts too." We sat there, the weight of unsaid words pressing down on us. "Last night," she said, "I almost asked you to stay. Not in the guest room." My breath caught. But I stopped myself, she continued. "Because if we crossed that line, leaving would destroy me." I turned to her. "You think it wouldn't destroy me?" She looked at me then, really looked at me, like she was memorizing my face. "That's exactly why I didn't." Silence again. But this time, it wasn't empty. "I don't regret last night," I said. "Not the confusion. Not the tension. Not even the pain." "Why?" she asked. "Because it showed me the truth," I replied. "That what we have is real. And real things don't need to be rushed to be proven." She smiled sadly. "You've always been like this. Saying the right thing at the wrong time." "Or the right time," I said. "Just the hardest." Her phone buzzed on the bed. A notification. A reminder. Her future calling her forward. "I don't want promises," she said suddenly. "I don't want dramatic speeches or, wait for me, lies." "Good," I replied. "Because I wasn't going to give you those." She raised an eyebrow. "I want honesty," I continued. "If you go fully. No guilt. No holding back. And if life ever brings you back to me, we'll see who we've become." Her eyes filled with tears. "That's the most painful thing you could have said." I smiled softly. "I know." She leaned forward then and hugged me. Not desperate. Not rushed. Just honest. The kind of hug that says everything words can't. "I'm glad it was you," she whispered. "Me too," I replied. When I left that evening, her mother walked me to the door. Thank you, she said, for loving her the right way. Weeks later, I dropped her off at the airport. No dramatic kiss. No promises carved in stone. Just a look. A long one. The kind that stays with you long after people walk away. As she disappeared into the crowd, I realized something important. That night, the one that started with a drunk friend and an unexpected invitation, it wasn't about temptation. It was about restraint, respect, and the kind of love that doesn't need to take something to be real. Some stories don't end with together forever. Some end with becoming better people. And sometimes, that's enough.